I'm Amy DeVroon and welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast. 2020 has been a mad year thus far, a year where we've really had to take a look at ourselves. As a self-help nut, this hasn't been hugely out of the ordinary for me, but what has been so unusual is watching an entire creative industry grind to a halt in front of my very eyes. The link between creativity and mental health has always fascinated me, so I wanted to go deeper. In a world where we so often equate success with fame, it can be easy to forget the reason behind it all. Creativity. This unique, inexplicable gift. The thing we do where we lose all sense of time. The thing that lifts our hearts even in the darkest of moments. The thing that many of us feel we were put on this earth to do. So every week I'm going to talk to my guests about just that. Their creativity. Their highs and lows, and where they find their creativity when it feels like there's nowhere to put it. On today's podcast, we have none other than Irish actor Aoibheann McCann. I so enjoyed talking to Aoibheann. She gave us her everything, and I think you'll really appreciate it. So get comfy and enjoy. Okay, so Aoibheann McCann, welcome to Year of the Selfie podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. You know, I'm a big fan of the podcast, so I was so chuffed when you asked.
Oh, I'm so thrilled. I didn't even know I had any fans of the podcast.
I send it to people.
Comforting.
Like I've said to you before, like I sent it to people because I feel like they, you know, there's things that people say that you don't know you need to hear, especially.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah, totally.
Although I imagine that pandemic or no pandemic, a lot of the things that people share about their problems or their dreams and their, you know, the way they deal with this industry or their own industry, whatever it might be, I think everybody would want to hear it at any point.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
I wonder as well, is it the pandemic or that kind of uncertainty where everyone feels like it's leveled the playing field? Everyone feels a little bit more able to open up. Because we've kind of, we've leveled the playing field. So there's no shame in it almost, or like.
I think we're all sort of, I saw a tweet the other day, forgive me, I can't remember who it was, but this woman just basically said, I'm learning that all I need is, this is going to sound so wanky, all I need is love. But what she expanded on it. It was like her family that she loves, her friends that she loves. That's what she needs to love and be loved. And to be honest, I've figured out I've had the space to figure out what's going on for me personally and professionally that I want. And, you know, a creative coach friend of mine, Jude Schwepp would always say, it's really impossible to separate the two worlds. You know, especially if you're creative by trade, it's really impossible to separate the personal and the professional, because in most lines of work, but with this, it's just such a big part of you that if you're not happy at home, per se, maybe it feeds into what you make and vice versa. And we're always so unsure of what's going to happen next. I think that we always feel like we need to be rooted. And it's a constant effort to get rooted.
Yeah.
Like it's not like, oh, I'm rooted now for the next year.
Yeah.
It's, I'm rooted for a week, or I'm rooted for 3 months. I know what I'm going to do. So I think the pandemic actually and the lockdown gave me the opportunity to realize that I need a lot of light in my life, because from the countryside, I need to be in the countryside more than I thought. Yeah. I got my driving license.
Did you get it?
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes. As a freelancer, that took me a while, and a farmer's daughter, it's really not, I'm not the norm. But I definitely realized that I wanted to establish myself as an adult for the first time, even though I'm in my 30s now. I'm like, why haven't I done that already?
Yeah.
I don't know what the markers are of that, but I think creative people tend to have to either abandon that for a while when they're trying to establish themselves, because they could be all over the place, or they actually actively avoid it because of the Peter Pan thing. You know, you want to grow up because it means that you have to make decisions that might impede your creativity or might impede your career. I don't know.
Oh, definitely.
So oddly for me, I'm thinking of like doing things like I'm buying a car soon, and I'm going to try to buy a house in the next year. Wild stuff like that.
God, that feels like I have a human child that I apparently own.
Yeah.
And that to me feels really grown up. You're like, and I'm going to buy a house. I'm like, it's all
but
the
Amy, I swear to God, that is 100% the grown up thing. You've done it. Like you're take a chill for 5 years.
Yeah. I can just relax now. Yeah, no, I totally relate to that, because I think, oh God, even having a baby, it was never something I was never somebody, people who are like, I always wanted to be a mother. That was not really, and I loved being an auntie and all of those kind of things. And then it was more, I wanted a family with my husband. That was kind of more what happened. But that to me was a weird one. It really, it kind of messes with your idea of yourself as a creative person, because you've got this idea of your sort of identity as this free spirit. You can't be tied down. And then you have a very clear, like, actual human that like, it requires that a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird dynamic. But I was just thinking about you there when you were talking about what I feel from the outside looking in is like, I don't want to say hamster wheel because that feels negative, but like, you have been on a hamster wheel the last few years. We all have.
Yeah.
But you've been like working it feels like you've been working loads and working loads in theatre. It doesn't feel like you've had a break. Do you feel, was there any burnout with that as well? Like, obviously, and it's a hard one to admit as well, to burn out or anything, because we're so grateful to get the work.
Of course, yeah.
But,
I totally, do you know what? Yeah, I've been so lucky, and I feel really lucky. I also feel exhausted because I'm trying to try this thing out now where I admit it's not the right word, sit into the fact that, I worked really hard to get those jobs, and that, luck is, and I think this has come up a few times for most of your interviews so far, is that, luck is really important, but also luck tends to happen to hardworking, positive people.
Yeah.
The study shows, actually. If you're an optimist, you tend to feel luckier. So it depends on how you measure luck. But for me, going to drama school in England and then coming back and looking at Dublin and going, I've never even lived in the city. Like, I realized I had never lived in Dublin. I went to Maynooth University and then I went to London. But I didn't actually do the Dublin thing. So I had no idea really what to do, but I felt very certain that I wanted to try this. And actually meeting Tracy Martin and working with her with Red Bear Productions, and she continues to write, even for me, amazing women, or people who maybe necessarily don't identify as women or are born women, all that kind of stuff. It's so, I was so lucky to be able to, I guess, prove myself to Dublin a little, that I could handle like this writing, let's say. And it just kind of took off. And there's little bumps along the way that are like not negative bumps, like little hoists up, like I hear people talk a lot about what your big break was. And somebody said to me about a year ago, what was your big break? And I looked at them like, I've had a break. Did I get a big break? Well, when did that happen?
Yeah.
And I guess it depends on the context again of like what you deem to be success, what you deem to be lucky, so for me, I was just very lucky that it just kept going. And even I remember finishing A Streetcar Named Desire in Belfast last year, and I rang my agent and I said, we don't know what's coming up, do we? And there was virtually nothing that we knew of that would even suit me. Even if I wanted it, doesn't necessarily mean I'll get it, as we know too well. And I just sort of went, okay, well, this is it then. This is where it stops.
Yeah, this is where it all ends.
And I remember talking to, I did a couple of articles actually for RTE Culture, and I remember thinking, this is exercising a creativity in me that I really wanted to do, because I thought I was going to be a journalist before I became an actor. So writing, not writing plays per se, I need to emphasize that. I'm trying it, but it's not necessarily a good thing. But I definitely love, I love that side of like telling stories, and I was in the middle of that at the All Together Now Festival. I was covering it as it was like an eco sort of correspondent at the All Together Now Festival, And it was great crack. And then I got back from it and I got a phone call saying, you've been offered this role in Playboy, the Western World. And I went, oh God, it's back again. And it's actually this weird thing of like, you get used to briefly for a moment of not knowing, and you know again what your next 3-4 months is going to be. And then by the end of that was at the end of last year, the year when things were normal. And in the beginning of the rehearsals for Playboy, this wonderful artist, Julie Maxwell, who worked on a Streetcar, she played the nurse. She was more than just another actor in the cast, though, to everyone. She was just incredible support. Now, I must add that Julie suddenly passed away in the middle of Playboy rehearsals. And
in the middle of rehearsals? Oh, I didn't.
Not for the show. Not making this very clear. She was working on Shirley Valentine in the Lyric at the same time we were making Playboy.
Okay, gotcha.
And half the cast of Playboy would have known her very well.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole building knew her because she was an actor and now a budding director, an incredible creative, very, very generous and honest. Yeah. And the thing about Julie was, for me, in the short time I actually knew her, in the grand scheme of her life, I genuinely don't know how I would have got, when you play a big role and you're just terrified, or even a small one, and you go, I'm gonna fuck this up. This is not.
Yeah.
They did not expect this version of a person to come out on stage and play Blanche Dubois.
Yeah.
I was just terrified. And she had this real capacity to stop you and calm you. It wasn't like, you're amazing. It was more like, get a grip. You're okay. You got this. And really calm, kind person. And when she passed away very suddenly, we still don't really know. She passed away very suddenly. And it was just a massive shock to the whole industry in Belfast, particularly. And I just remember feeling like, this feels so strange. Like, she was there yesterday and now she's gone. And then we went on and made Playboy, and that went on and went on tour briefly for the Dublin Theatre Festival, went to the Lyric, back to the Lyric. And then my uncle was dying of cancer. And I went to see him in hospital while we were doing the leg of the Playboy, I guess, tour to Dublin. We were in the Gaiety. And I think when I got back to Belfast then to do the last leg of the Playboy stint, there might have been like a dark cloud behind me, just closing in a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's actually the first time I've gone into detail with anyone outside of close friends and family, like in a podcast about this. But I remember doing a warm-up one evening during Playboy, and we were in the Lyric, and just beautiful theatre, and I was sitting over on the stage right. I was literally sitting on the stage trying to get a warm-up going, and I remember coming off that side at the end of Streetcar, and Julie would have come off in front of me, and Richard and the doctor and the nurse. And she would always lean in, put her hand on me and go, great job. And I go, or that was gas, or oh my God, the audience are amazing tonight. Oh, the audience is awful. There's a bunch of weirdos out there, like kind of thing. Yeah. And I just think I'd just seen my uncle the week before, and he was just not, we've since lost him. And so I was just exhausted. And I couldn't figure out whether I was feeling sorry for myself, which I probably was, but I was just so sad, and I felt like I could feel her there. Yeah. I couldn't believe that. But I guess if anything, I felt the memory of her, Yeah. And I just think that was the beginning of burnout. That was the beginning of burnout, because it's also that like I mentioned earlier, that rootedness that you get, we crave. I guess you don't get that when you're living in different places and you're not getting to, and that's the part of the deal. And actually that's part of the highlight as well, getting to make new friends, or experience a city as if you live there all the time and all that kind of thing. But then I went into January with a real depression. I didn't go on medication or anything, but I did chat to my doctor about it, because I was like, this is so bad that I just don't know how I can, like, I wasn't suicidal, to get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
I can't, I know this feeling, because I've been depressed before, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this without help, and I don't know what the help is, and everything feels too much. And the anxiety was keeping me awake at night, and I couldn't sleep. And then if I slept, it was this odd sort of frantic sleep. And it went on for weeks. And I don't know, like, it did lift eventually, and I think that's because I'm aware of that demon. Like, I understand how it can work its way out of you as well. You know, as easily as you become depressed, you can rise out of it again. It was depression and anxiety. I think I just knew. I was like, I was looking at myself, going, "You're wrecked." Yeah, so tired. And one of the things that a lot of older actors would say to me, who've been doing this for a lot longer than me, is, Aoibheann, you've just given yourself up over and over again every night. And I was going, oh, come on, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A bit romantic.
I'm not saving lives here.
Yeah, like, Jesus, exactly. And that's the thing. I didn't like. I was saying I can't justify that as something that's going to be the reason. But actually, yeah, I played a character who cried every single night for half of the show, and it wasn't even that I always cried, but there was that lump in my chest every day for 3 months, and 2 months of the show itself. And you know, you go and you play a different character, which is a little less emotionally traumatized, but certainly has her own baggage. And then your uncle is not well, and you know, and your friend, you know, is gone suddenly, and but even more than that, the friends around you, who Julie was a big part of their life, like they're just utterly devastated. You know, like, it's just so hard, and they're getting on with it every night too, you know. And it happens to people. That's what I realized. Like, this happens to everyone. If whether you're a teacher, an actor, you know, so it happens. So to answer your question,
I don't even know what that was. But go ahead, because I'm so enthralled now.
The hamster wheel. Did it cause burnout?
Oh yeah.
And actually, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know many actors who do. I just know that I'm trying to lay a bit of foundation at the moment, so that I don't feel like I'm being owned by it a bit, you know. So,
because I remember having that conversation with my mum about, and she said, I remember she said somebody in their 30s, some actor or something that she'd been talking to, she was telling me it'll probably happen to me. She was telling me this years ago of burnout, and she said, because it's unsustainable. And so you're looking at the amount of time you were doing, say, those shows, that run of shows, maybe, and from when you maybe got the gate, and then you were kind of going up to the lyric and all of those things. But then you also forget all of the years of dedication and drive, and those years before you get the gigs, where you're producing your own shows and stuff. I think that really, it has to take its toll somewhere eventually. And like, I was even saying, like, there was even a point, I think, where I just went, I'm not writing any more shows for a while. Like, I'm not doing this anymore, because it's so much hard work, and it requires a certain amount of, that you don't, you know, I think where other people leave their job at the door. And I think if it's always playing in your mind, it's still kind of there. And it's weird as well. Sorry, because I'm just thinking of with the highs and the lows. I spoke about this years ago, but when I was doing Jason Bourne, which was like a real career highlight for me, it was huge, and it was the experience was just phenomenal. My sister was diagnosed with breast cancer when I was on set, and I got the call in my trailer. And I think those things are really weird. It really makes you view the world differently again. Like, because you're striving for one thing, and then as you say, your foundation shakes. And that's,
it's like, I don't know if this is something that resonates with you, but I find that I question what makes a successful creative person, what makes it, to be more specific, what makes it a successful actor, or someone who wants to just act and write and act and produce, is like Kira Smith, the writer. She's still an actor, I think, but she's more so a writer at the moment. Her words, not mine. She came into my house recently, a socially distanced hello, which her and Ushing were coming through where my parents live, and she walked in, and I was like, Jesus, are you a bit anxious? Because it's you know, it was at the midst of we were coming out of lockdown. He said, yeah. And I said, do you think creatives do you think the industry makes us anxious, or what? And she went, no. anxious people go into the industry. And I was like,
Yes.
that is so true.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh my God. And then Oisin Kearney, Ciara's partner, and also in his own right, a writer and a director, he was like, yeah, totally. I think so that makes me wonder, like when I was producing, like self-producing, like yourself, you know,
Yeah.
before we did all this stuff that people remember now, is that I do graphic design, and I don't tell anyone really, because I had this, not a fear at all, but I just didn't want to muddy the waters, and I certainly didn't want to work as a graphic designer anymore. But I do all the design for Red Bear, and in terms of the graphic side of things, and not necessarily the set design. And I just remember, like, instead of sitting with something, I'd move on to the graphic design. You know, like instead of like worrying about who's coming to the show, I'd go. I know I was doing it, but I'd go and I'd design another poster, or I'd rejig the website.
Something tangible that you can actually do, control.
Absolutely. And it was so therapeutic, because actually, you know, making things visually is as we know too well, is just such a calming thing. So I would just be there until like 2 a.m, you know, messing around, sending Tracy stuff, hoping she's still awake, going, is this awful, or is this actually working? And then I think that feeds in and out of why I do this job, why I work well at this job sometimes, a lot of the time, let's say, is because it's a work ethic with maybe often a need to ignore oneself, like to leave myself alone. I'll just go, I really want to make something. I'm going to use this side of me. I'm going to draw, I'm going to design the poster, or I'm going to write the email to that funding body, or, you know, I just keep going around. And then, so I think that's this whole realization is sparked by your saying, you know, you forget about the years, you don't consider the years you were just like waiting and just chipping away, and like re-examining the industry and going, what do I be? Do I fit in? Do I have to, you know, I got really frustrated once where I wasn't considered for a role. This happens all the time. But I knew that I'd worked on the script before, so I was like, I know this person. And I remember thinking, you know, how do I make people see that part of me? And like, it was a real thing. Like, how do I prove to them that I'm the thing they think I'm not? And then it's funny, sometimes grudgingly I'll go, fuck it, I'm not the thing I thought I was. And I'm like, God, it took me this long to realize that I'm not the thing I thought I was. But and then there's that real satisfaction of like finding ways to prove to people that you are, you know, like, so there's that. I don't know. That's a bit of a wishy-washy, tangenty answer to. I don't even remember the question now. But
no, but it's funny what you're saying about the trying to prove yourself, because I on another podcast chatting to Thomas Kane Byrne, and we were saying about how it's really important to also focus on the people who are interested in you, because I feel like I battled that for a long time, trying to make people, or this casting director, see me, come on, you know, like, I know you like me, see, you know, or and then how freeing it can be if you focus on the people who do want, you know, are interested, or do see that potential in you, or it's so much more, there's a lightness of touch then to it, or something, there's an ease to it, and often those are the things that very naturally then come about, like roles you are offered or auditions that you're seen for.
It's like that thing, isn't there, where that's something I'm learning personally and professionally as well, is that surround yourself with the people that you feel like most yourself with, you know, because sometimes we jump through hoops that we don't really even understand, you know, we go, and, you know, that's why a lot of actors hate opening nights and press nights and things, because you just feel like you walk out going, Jesus, I left a wake of destruction of my own career behind me, because I had one vodka and I was nervous, you know. And it wasn't even my show. I was just invited to see the show and like the Abbey at the gate, and now I talk a load of shit at somebody and they think like, oh, she's a bit stupid, isn't she? So like, you know, I still leave situations like that, and I'm definitely, I know that I've learned that I come across as a confident person, but people don't always know that especially people who are coming to the industry for the first time, like they don't realize that confidence is actually probably enthusiasm, and then it is bubbling this sort of fear of rejection, persistent fear of rejection. And
yes,
I guess again, you want to go back and ground yourself. Like I find myself going, okay, can't control that now. Whatever's happened just happened. I'm just going to leave and ground myself with my sister, or I'm going to ring my best friend and talk about her child because I love him, and you know, try and find ways to, you know, just find solace. Like Tracy, having Tracy as a partner in crime is really a godsend, and I think it's something I cherish more and more, even though we haven't really made anything together in a long time. We've been planning to. It's just she'll get a big gig or I'll get a gig. And I think that even then, like sometimes I'll text her and I'll go, do you still want to, like, do you want to work with me? And she's like, what do you want about? Of course I want to work with you. So like it seeps in, you know, it never gets easy.
How did that relationship actually come about? Because I just remember being so interested in that. I was probably back from London actually quite a while, but I remember seeing your theatre company and just being like, and seeing a couple of shows that you did and just being like, it felt like, they're doing the thing that we were doing in London. Like, cause I would know people who had theatre companies in London, and it always felt like a midpoint between Fringe and National Stage, you know, and that's what your company felt like. Whereas,
cool.
I never saw that in very many other companies over here or something. It kind of just felt like there was, because it was new writing, I think, as well. And I don't know,
I get you.
It felt like an accessible theatre company, because I know there's theatre companies in Ireland that aren't necessarily on the national stage, but I think they maybe didn't feel as accessible. And I don't know whether that's just because you guys were the face of it and you seem like easy to chat to or whatever, but it always felt like I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but
no, I think I know what you mean, and it's actually a lovely idea that's what might have come across. I dare I say, I think the combination of Tracy and me is that I'm quite she's really in the detail in certain areas of the company. So like the writing, and more, she'll dig and dig and dig, and she'll know when to stop, and she'll know when to just throw something out. And she's very good at killing her babies, that kind of way. Like she's like, right, that's not working, it's shite. She'll say that. I'm actually very good. Whereas I guess the visual artist side of me is I've never described myself as a visual artist, but I did it today. But, you know, the part of me that like I was going to do sculpture early when I was in my leaving cert. I was like did very well at art, and I thought that's what I'm going to do. So there was always that burning, there's always that itch, you know, to make things like. And I guess I understood as well. Like I worked for Debenhams. I can't disregard this. I worked for Debenhams PLC, or like head office, in their artworking section on their website. So I was
no way.
Yeah, I did it as a freelancer before I went to drama school, and a bit after I left to make some money. And I was like, I have to emphasize, I didn't study graphic design. It's another long, probably quite boring story of how I ended up doing it. But anyway, I did French and sociology in university, but then I ended up doing this on the side. And I just remember knowing that, you know what, it's messages are not just words spoken. They're the package. It's that understanding that you need to market yourself so that people feel safe, that you could have, in my opinion, this is how I feel the world. I'll walk into a theatre and it's a French theatre, and the writing is really good. But I have to get over my own bias sometimes. If the poster isn't good.
Yes. Yeah.
And if the set design isn't good, and like we've definitely made lots of mistakes in that area at the set design bit, but like I just cannot see the writing for what it really is, because I'm like a lot of people, I want to buy into the whole thing. I want to buy into it. I want to go in and go, these guys absolutely understand what they're trying to do. So even though we're not perfect and we had a lot to learn, and we were always trying to figure out what our vibe was, I didn't want there to be a thrown together poster. I didn't want there to be, I want the people to be able to get the information about us if they wanted to. I wanted to trick people into thinking that we knew what we were doing.
Yes. So that's probably why it was like the accessibility, but it looked like something that was like a bridge to it's a professional, but bridge to the kind of national stages where you're going, well, that does, because like there's a lot to be said for the whole package. Like I really do. I think people really underestimate it. And I think you can keep things simple, but I think at the same time, if you want to be having a fringe company or a production company or anything, you do kind of have to, the branding is important.
The branding. Yeah. Like I made jokes. I was away for a few days there with friends, and I made jokes constantly. That's not my brand. And like actually, like it's, you know, because there's a lot of takeaway cups at the moment, and I definitely didn't use takeaway cups for about 2 years. And if I wanted a coffee on the go now, you can't use your cup. So every time someone gave me a takeaway cup, I go, it's not my brand. But like, I definitely feel like it's something. This is how. So let's just say I had to use a takeaway cup. I use this as an analogy, and someone took a photograph of me and they wanted to put it on Instagram. I said, don't, because actually what I'm trying to say is don't promote the wrong idea. I want to, so someone is, this is where I have a problem. I'm totally off on a tangent here, but like if influencers keep getting photographs taken with them with like fast fashion or like, you know, like high street stuff, really cheap boohoo kind of shite, to be honest. And like, you know, a plastic bottle, you know, like promotion. I'm going, by all means, buy the boohoo dress, but don't influence 500,000 17-year-old girls to buy a boohoo dress. Like just keep it real, lads. You know what I mean? Like, we have to live. We have to get right. We're in the infrastructure we have isn't great, so we have to live it. But just stop pushing it. So I think with branding, it's so important that we tell people, trust me, like it's good. We have this. We know. You go in and you go, I actually can live. I can be calm and centered enough now, knowing that you had all the other stuff. It was all good. Your front of house staff is lovely. Your producers in the door being an absolute charmer. I'm sitting down now. The set's grand. But I trust you. And then you're ready to listen. But if you're like, I don't really know what they're doing. I don't really know what they're doing. I just don't. It
totally changes. Actually, it's so true. It changes your bias going in, like immediately if you don't. If you don't feel like you're being taken care of. I love going to people's shows that I know I'm being taken care of. And I'm not talking about big shows. I'm talking about people even in fringe theatre. I'll go to somebody if I've gone to a show of theirs before and I felt like I was really taken care of, I'll always go back to that person's show. Always. Because I'm like, well, they're taking care of me, so that's grand. And that's sometimes why I won't go back to certain bigger theatres if I don't feel like I've been taken care of on that experience.
And I think people say taken care of a lot, actually, when they talk about the actual piece of work, don't they? They say like, I remember a director said once in the room, take care of the audience or something like that, as in mind the audience. So there's like, and I don't mean they were trying to shield them from anything that was too much or too violent or too anything. It was just more like help them get there.
Bring them into the world, ease them into this world, because, you know,
mind the audience. Or mind your audience, I think they said. It's all coming back to me now. I just can't remember who said it. And like, I guess that brings you to like minding everybody in a space is just sort of integral to the kind of work I want to be part of. And actually, it's really helpful that we have vocabulary around all that now, you know, like understanding how to, because I think I feel very strongly about is like, what are you trying to say as a group of people? Never mind your work. Like, are you trying to keep addressing what you've done that is a mistake? Like, there's stuff that we wrote that we reproduced a few years ago. And now I think Tracy and I would sit down and go, do we know what we were on about there? Like, do we really know what we were talking about? Because we have new evidence to say that that's not a helpful message, you know, like, so what do we want to say? And actually not give yourself a hard time about what you did, but give yourself the opportunity to do something that's teaching somebody, minding the audience, teaching the audience something that you've discovered and you've prodded at for a long time and you feel very strongly about, whether that be, something as broad as women's rights or the persistent failure of society to protect everyone, to feminism, like feminist theater. And then people would say feminist theater is just like, a lot of women, and like what is it Tracy said to me one day, a lot of lesbians or something, because she's a lesbian woman, so she was like, oh sure, feminist theater, people throw it around, but like it is feminist theater made by happens to be an exclusively male team. It's still feminist theatre.
Yes, I think people think feminist theatre is just like you throw a few women up there, and maybe if they talk about their periods as well on stage, then it's definitely feminist theatre. And
of course that had its place, like just like we did Harder, Faster, More, we talked about porn and we talked about the exploitation of women, and tried to bring it to the living room we're all in. Like that's somebody or that's this person that you've met, or that person, and that person is embroiled somehow in sexualization of another person. And we did talk about it, and I guess if we brought it out again, it would have to take a new form, because we've come so far in that time. Understanding even more the little things that are really, really unhelpful, in fact probably poisonous in society. Like the way we talk to somebody in a shop is as it turns out, it was sexist, and I didn't know, or the way that other women talk about men in a sexual way, that kind of
but
thing.
I think that's the proof that with, say, your theatre company, that you were actually making work that was on the edge of what was happening, like that was dealing with things that were in the ether at the time, and I think was really important, because if it hadn't have changed, if you're not able to look back and go, we wouldn't use those words now, then it wouldn't have been relevant at the time or something. It's kind of like I look back even on pretty much every one of my one woman shows now, and I go, I don't think I'd perform that now, because it was very much of the time. It was very much of that moment. And that for me, I know there's classics and there's all these things and you can reimagine loads of things, but the theatre that kind of gets me excited is when I feel like it's talking about what's happening at the moment, but it's being transformed into art, and it's making me look at the world differently. That's the kind of stuff that I love, that I kind of get a little bit like a fire in my belly about. So I think it's actually a really good sign that that's what you guys, that you wouldn't go back to stuff that you were doing because it was so of the moment. And it was,
it's so like, excuse me, I have a little cough. It's not COVID.
Oh, you're good.
I look back at like Wrapped, which is the first show we did together, and it's a two-hander, two women play all the roles, and Tracy wrote it because she was like, I just want to see two women talk to each other. And actually we don't really talk to each other that much in the show, but she just wanted to hear about like those women that she knew, especially when she was in her party time, when she was in her 20s. She wanted to hear she wanted to see them on stage, And that's just driving force, and inevitably that will bring out a feminist message, because it's asking us to see women that you don't always see on stage. It's asking us to consider their point of view and like the reasons they make those decisions that just seem like flippant, but they're actually these two characters, and they meet each other, and one of them we feel like she might be in love with the other woman in the show, but she's also dealing with grief of her mother, and the character I played is just this sort of party animal who probably looks quite selfish from the outside, and it is, but also has a big heart, but is trying to just survive. So it's just like, I just want to see those people. And I just don't know, like if I did it again, I'm probably a bit older, I'm too older now to play her, but I wonder, like would I want somebody who is from the flats in Dublin to play that now, because I know more about what that means.
Yes.
And how I can't access that. And that will bring it, oh Jesus, that brings you to a whole
other realm
of casting and stuff,
But it is interesting, because I think, and there's a like, and that's okay to say that, like, well, it's different now. We've learned more about that. I thought it was really interesting when, again, Thomas Kane Burnett, and why he's coming up so much in this one.
I said it actually, because I know that we talked about this before.
And he was saying, if Erica, his partner in crime, Erica Rose, going, if there's a part coming up for, what was it? A certain type of a play that's going to be on. He's going, oh no, he said if it's a working class play, every actress in Dublin will be seen for it. But he said, but if it's a certain, another, I don't know, an Oscar Wilde, he said, they're not going to see Erica Rowe. I thought, well, that's really interesting. That shows how it's just really interesting
it's
how
interesting
we haven't.
Though, because I have to say, I don't think he's right. I think
do you not?
I don't get called for working class roles because I look like something from a period drama. Like, I'll never get it. The only way I get to play working class roles is if I make them my own company. And why would I want to do that now? Well, I know what I know, because I would want Erica to play that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think he's wrong, and I don't think his perception is wrong. I think it's actually right. But I also, the way I've experienced the industry here is that if there's a working class role going in a film, I'll definitely not be called. It will not be something I'll be called for, because the industry knows I'm this sort of like, I'm a funny one. I did an interview recently where they were like, "You're from two places." I was like, yeah, kind of. Like, I'm this border girl who has an identity in Northern Ireland because my mum was from there. I lived there for some time as a child. I was back and forth, you know. And then I also am from the Republic of Ireland, and then I lived in London. And so people are kind of like, what's her story? So, and I guess you have to consider as well that I probably don't look necessarily like somebody who's lived the life some of these characters have lived that are written. But then, like, where does that, it's so interesting. Like, what if I go through the parts in my head, like, most of the roles I've played in the last few years have all been classics. Or not classics, they've just been women who are not of now. That's kind of like, you're a bit like, Jesus. So my going home is like, when will I ever be called for the woman who is just another woman, like is another woman who something happened to. But that's where I go, right, I'm just going to have to
write that myself.
Keep doing that myself. So I remember saying to Tracy, I was like, she wants to do more screen, as do I. So as a company, and she's written quite a bit for screen now, but and done really well. But so she was saying, I was like, Tracy, I told Dublin that I was a certain character and a certain kind of capability as an actor. Now I'm going to have to tell Dublin that I'm also able to do these other things that you're not entirely sure I'm able to do. I also have this fear, I don't know if you've ever had this, where if someone sees you a lot in plays, they just see you as a theatre actor. Like, I've done quite a bit of screen, but I'm like, you know, you're kind of going, and then it kind of seeps in for me, and I go, Jesus Christ, maybe I am. Maybe I can't do something.
No, and and I think I do find it's very rife in the Irish theatre scene, because it's a very specific scene, the Irish theatre scene, because it's tiny. It is tiny, and I feel like I'm a broken record talking about it, but it is. And I think if you infiltrate it, if you get into those theatres, it's kind of like, right, now that's it now. That's enough for you. You do that. That's what you do. Like, don't be coming in here taking the filming jobs as well. Whereas actually, where we are, if you have had good training or you're a decent actor, you are able to do both, and you should be allowed to do both. Absolutely. And not be pigeonholed. But in terms of actually with your theatre, so obviously you won the Irish Times Theatre Award for Best Actress. Is that correct? Sorry,
that is correct.
Okay, great. Which is amazing.
I always do a little saying, I'm like, gas.
What?
That happened. Yeah.
But like, did that give you? It's so interesting to me, because I remember meeting you. I met you and Tracy to have a chat, and it was just before you were hearing about Gatsby. And I feel like was that your first role in The Gate? I feel like that was kind of like that seems to just have then kind of snowballed a load of other roles. And so it felt like a real moment for you. Like, that was, which I can totally relate to, like, where you're going, if I get this thing, oh my God, that's the thing that was in my mind. And then it kind of snowballed. And then obviously then you did Blanche up in the Lyric. And then that was what you won your Irish Times Theatre Award.
Yeah.
So what does is there a sense of like, is it either, oh my God, how has this happened to me? Or is there a little sense of kind of, as it should be? Like, do you know, because this,
I know, I totally get it. It's a great question, because it's all of those things and none of them, because That's such a political way to answer questions. It's all of the what you want it to be. I will give you that. With Kira Smith again said it to me. We had dinner one night when I was nominated. I met Kira and we were sitting across from each other and we were chatting about like how similar we are actually in the way we feel. Like, and it's probably around our anxieties and stuff, but also around the things we really love doing and the lifeblood of why we do what we do or try to do what we do anyway. And I said to her, she's like, how did you feel about when you got nominated? I was like, oh, just so relieved. She went, oh my God, I totally get it.
Oh my God.
I was like, I didn't know that there was a relief to be gained. Like I didn't necessarily expect it. But, and obviously you never say, oh, I expected it because what kind of dickhead does that? But like, it was a relief. Yeah. It was a relief. So I remember Jared Kelly and I worked together on 2 shows and he's, you know, a good friend. And he used to say, Akanzo, you're going to be, that's it now. That's it. This is it. This is your role. You're Nomo. I call Nomo like on a couple of things. And I was like, don't do it, Jared. That's awful. Like, I don't even remember, like, you know, you forget about that. You're just enjoying the job. And then your friend comes on and goes, Nomo, that's a Nomo. That's a Nomo.
Oh my God.
So when I take himself and Kate Gilmore, another good friend of mine, came up to see Streetcar, I was like, oh yeah, Nomo, McCanzo, Nomo. I was like, fuck's sake.
Don't.
You kind of put it away then, you know, because it's not something, that's not why you do it. But then when Kira asked that and I said relieved, she started laughing because she was like, oh my God. Because anytime she's been nominated for something, she's like, it's just relief. And then she was like, we started saying to each other, we have to stop feeling just relief. We have to start feeling like proud and kind of even bemused, you know, like that's a better thing than being, oh thank God, like, because you wander around this world wondering if you're even real. Sometimes you're like, oh, am I doing this? Am I any good? Like, I don't know about you. Do you ever feel like this? You're like, am I actually just really bad at just no one's noticed?
Oh yeah. Like, and I
good,
know it has to, no, you are, but like, I'm going like, no one's had the heart to tell me. No one's had the heart to tell me. And I'm just, and anything that's ever, any gig I've ever gotten is just complete fluke. And I'm fucked. Like they're gonna all find out. And I just feel like a little puppy sometimes in rehearsals, right? So I arrive at rehearsals and I might be playing like technically what is deemed the lead, right? And I'm walking around going, oh God, I feel like such a dickhead. Like not to keep using that word, but like I'm like a little bit of an idiot. And I just go, right, okay, I know what I'm doing. Like technically I know what I'm doing. Like so that's something I'm finally able to say, yeah, I understand the technique of this. This is grand. I understand the scope in which I have to reach people. I get it. Like I know how to make small feelings translate. I know not to overdo it. I know how to deal with text. That's all good. Training and experience helps. But then you're just kind of going, how did this happen? Like
And I listened to Emma Jordan. I was like, Emma, why? Like, why did you choose Emma Blanche? And she went, I saw you in Gatsby, and I kind of knew you were good. And I just could. When I was thinking about casting, I just said, I just keep thinking of this girl I saw you in, and I was going, okay. And I was like, but I still kind of, I didn't want to. It wasn't like I was breaking it to her that I was absolutely crapping myself, but I was more like, you sure? Like, because you've been doing this a while. And I guess that's what it is. I just want to, and I do, don't get me wrong, I do have confidence and I do have, I'm assured in a lot of the stuff I do, but I don't know if there's any harm in checking in with yourself to go, are you right for this? Yeah. What do you need to do to make this role work and for it to be alive in you? Like, you're always proving yourself. Like you'll always.
I don't think anyone rests on their laurels and goes, even when you get the job, you know the way some people go, I relax when I get the job. I don't. Oh my God, no. Like, I'm ready, I'm there, and you know, and then when the job's finished, I relax.
And it's funny, because are we missing out? Do you feel like you're ever missing out on the moment then if you're not sitting with what's actually happening, the thing that you may have even dreamed of, like specifically you read this thing and you go, like for you, you know, you did such a gorgeous job on Line of Duty. Like, did you sit in that and go, oh my God, I'm playing a woman that isn't even, I mean, like also, congratulations. I remember watching one of those episodes and going, fuck me, she's doing a brilliant job with that accent. And
Oh God, thank God.
like, she's still doing a beautiful job of the acting. I was like, oh my God, thank God, because it was such a great moment for Irish actresses, especially who are just about to burst through like to screen and big budget roles. You're going, yes, I really want to see, like, because Irish actresses and Irish actors are so talented and like so they're so transformative a lot of the time as well, and like really versatile. It was so exciting to see your face and that accent. I was like, so good. But did you enjoy doing that when you were in it? Like, I always wonder about that.
I definitely, okay, so like the read through, I was sitting beside Stephen Graham, and I remember a year before I'd been in London and I had seen a tweet from, I remember, I don't know her, but I'd seen a tweet from Niamh Algar saying that she was working with Stephen Graham, and I was like, and I was over in London doing a video game, like recording, which is fun, voice recording, but obviously I want to be doing screen stuff. So I was like, oh, I'd love to work with Stephen Graham. I was like, God, wouldn't that be great? And then literally like a year later, and obviously we're not in our scenes technically together because we're on the phone with him. But so I remember really enjoying that moment. Like, I was sitting beside him and I was like, this is fucking amazing. Like, and then I did, now the first day I got in on the, you know, when we're just on set and I'm with Vicky McClure and Martin, I was going, oh God. Like, I just, the overwhelming just hit me. But then I just went, no, fuck this. I just went, I was like, I've worked too hard and too long. And it is that moment where our survival or something kicks in where you're going, no, I've worked it's like that rightly so thing. That's probably why I'm asking. I go, no, rightly so. Fuck it. Why not me? Why somebody else? I've done the work. Oh my God, have I done the work? And I've put in the time and I've grafted and all the things. You know, it would have been nicer not to have to always graft, but it did. So yeah, I think I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fruits of that labor as well. Like I enjoyed like any of the interviews or there, you know, any of those little things. I'm like, fuck this shit. Yeah, go on, you know. And I was also pregnant at the time. So it was nice to have something that was out at that time. And so, yeah, no, definitely. I definitely, enjoy it. But it is that kind of fine line of like the terror and the going, no, rightly so. Fuck it. Like, why not? Because I've seen, you know, like there's enough projects out there. There's enough shite performances out there. Well, like, even if it is shite, why not me? Like, you know.
And it's so true. But like, I was talking about this the other day about like how to make a star, and it's so much about just persisting. But it's so satisfying to see an actor like you who isn't just a star, but you're really good. You go like, oh God, good. It makes sense now. It's all making sense, because then I think to see that, you know. And like, even Thomas has said to me, you're a grafter, McCann. Like, you know, it's great. I don't even know if he called me McCann. It's not really something he'd say. It's more Aoibheann. He'd use Aoibheann. But like, I really appreciate that about him as well. You know, like he works really hard and he doesn't apologize. And I know that he also has moments of, oh my God, what have I done? You know, like the way we all do. And the thing about this industry is like, I'm learning that when you're really honest about what you like, and you're really honest about how you feel and how scared you are, and then hopefully you're really honest about how confident you are in your ability, you're actually doing everybody else a big favor. Like, especially actors coming up. Like, at the end of the day, Amy, I just want to be liked. That's the worst thing. Like, I just want to be liked, and you can't please everybody. So
no, it's a terrible affliction to have. A terrible affliction.
Awful. And it's one of the things that has been the root of my ambition. And it's also been, it's not the only thing at the root, but it's certainly there. And it's been at the root of my self-flagellation, my giving myself a hard time. It's actually all around being liked. And then when I started to realize, I actually can't be liked to everyone, I still try, but I actually started to give myself less. And then what I ended up doing was going, oh yeah, I'm not actually a nice person. I just want to be liked. And then I went, fuck that. I'm actually grand. Like, I really want other people to feel happy and calm. And that's at the root of it too. And so it's just this back and forth of like, celebrate your little victories and your big ones and try and enjoy them, I think is what I want to try and do, is enjoy them.
Yeah.
Feeling
Yeah.
scared that that's the last bit of, I guess.
The last good thing that's going
Yeah,
to.
exactly. Because that's what we're ready for, isn't it? We're always ready for it to stop or something. Yeah, we're always ready for it to stop. And that's kind of sad.
Yeah. And to, I mean, and you don't seem this to be, it's like someone's going to go in and whip it out from under you, or I don't feel like you have the competitive thing. I'm just always interested in this with actors, because I think you seem more community driven. You seem to, what I know of you is that you're actually able to really bring a group of people together. That's only all I've ever seen of you, which I think is an amazing trait to have. So it's so nice. So like, do you ever suffer from the kind of the envies or the competition-y kind of thing, or is it kind of does community just really kind of get you going?
You know what? That's such a lovely question, because I am really proud of the fact that I don't really get jealous.
Yeah,
so I don't really get jealous of other actors, because I think it's a double-edged sword. It's because I give myself such a hard time. I will never look at the other person and go, you stole something from me, which I feel like jealousy can feel like.
Yeah.
But I'm in the turn giving myself a hard time, when I probably would do no harm to a bit of jealousy. Like, but the thing about it is that I get jealous. Like, I've gotten jealous romantically. Like, I've gone like, who is she? But like, but I've been asked this once or twice in my life, are you a jealous actor? And I just, what the closest I'll get to it, don't get me wrong, like I'll get spikes of it, but it's more that I'm just not jealous of a person. I'm usually annoyed at the industry, which is a different thing, I think. Yeah. I'll go like, can that person see? I guess what I do is I deal with it immediately. What I'll do is I'll go, how am I going to make sure that they don't see me like that again? Or how am I going to make sure that I work with that actor or that director or that writer, because I absolutely admire them and I think they're brilliant.
Yes.
And I'm very thankful that I don't get envious in the way I know other actors do, because it feels like I would be exhausted if I did, because the amount of times people have gotten, like, it happens all the time. I feel like in Ireland though, like there's not enough work for everyone, so getting called for a job is quite the victory. Whereas friends in London will be like, 3 tapes this week, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, shut up, you've got 3 tapes. Whereas like in Ireland,
here is actually, that's amazing.
Exactly. And I feel like I just kind of, I think community is important to me. I feel like the bigger picture is important to me. So when I'm in a cast of people and a crew who are obviously an integral part of the whole process, my main feeling is like, am I helping here, or am I making this, am I causing problems in that? And I don't mean like I'm going home going, I'm a terrible actor. I'm going home going, is that choice actually just not helping? You know? I think that's a direct link to the not being envious. It's the wanting the bigger picture. And it doesn't make me, probably does kind of make me sound like, oh, I'm such a noble person. But it's a genuine thing. Like I'm not training myself to go, sound really generous, Aoibheann, sound really noble, really like the best team player. But I know that I listen, and I know that I want everyone to be their best. But and I do have spikes and of like, why the fuck am I not able to do that? But it's mostly never that. And actually, what does get me is if you see one or two it's very rare in Ireland, but you'll see actors who are doing jobs and you go, they're just not as good as that other actor I know. But that's not jealousy. That's more of a unjust. Okay. That's interesting. Why does that keep happening? But yeah, I know I could go on about it, but I'm just very thankful that it isn't a big issue of mine. I don't really get jealous.
Yeah. I do wonder, because you're a big family as well. These are always my pontifications about big families. I'm a big family as well. I don't think there's room for that. I just don't think you can have been raised like that if you have had to basically share everything you know, like from it
Yeah.
as a child, it doesn't. Yeah, I always wonder is that, you know, obviously there's spikes. Everyone feels that, like, oh, I'd love to be doing that,
Yeah.
but mine will always manifest itself in trying to helping people. So like anybody who gets in contact with me, and I can say this with assurance because I know anyone who listens to this has ever been in contact with me and goes, oh, hey, Amy, do you know if this? I'm like, yes, let me. Like, I literally,
Yeah.
that's I always just go like, yeah, just keep putting it out there because it will inevitably come back in a good way, whether it's just good thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just
And
coming
it's
back
like
in a
a totally, and it's not good for your body and your mind to just to harbor those really dark feelings about other people. I think like we have enough of them about ourselves. It's just too hard to deal with that
yeah.
too. And I think the big family thing is so interesting. Like I'm an awful one for going on about how I come from a big family, but I'm so proud of them all, you know. And none of them are actors. They're all creative people. Like I don't think that you're necessarily born creative. I think everyone's born creative actually, and then we just lose our creativity, or we lean into it. In our family, it's a little bit of everything, you know. So if one of the kids is creative, and then one of our parents at a certain point goes, oh, that child, I will help them celebrate that. And then another kid will be like, I kind of like that too. And so everyone gets a go.
Yeah.
And I think what's mostly harnessed in a big family, if everything is, like no one's perfect, they're definitely not our family, but we're all really good mates. Like we all really adore each other. I think it's because we're really good at celebrating each other. And that probably what helps outside of the family unit is that I am really proud of my sister, the cake designer. I'm really proud of the vet nurse. I'm really proud of the mechanics and the carpenters and the whatever Cormac is now, a designer, I think.
Yeah.
I know he's everything. He's amazing. He's a communications. He's head of communications for a hotel chain actually. And then Gavin is like, you know, he bought his house and he's one of the kindest, most loyal people, and he's also very clever and talented and creative and all this stuff. And like you know, like and I'm just very like people would say. My sister's fiance has this joke that he goes, oh, I'm going up to Glenmore to the big McCann men. Like he jokes because my aunties and uncles are all from big families too, and they're always like, I think we have this confidence about us as a gang that like that I'm probably looking for all the time from people, is that feeling that I'm with my people and I'm okay here, and I can be in a shit mood and I can be the worst participant. I can actually go in and go, and they'll just be like, get a grip, get back in there and come back out in a better mood. You do this all the time. It's like they're holding a mirror up to you every time you do something.
Yes.
And
but you get away with nothing.
Yeah, and they still absolutely love the bones of you. Like they'll never ever not love you. And so I think that's probably why I've never, as you say, I've never been allowed to get jealous. I'd be told to get a grip.
Yeah.
Get on with it, like. And
it's so funny, the celebration, because with my brother-in-law there's a joke basically where in our family it's like because he just arrived to the house and everyone's like, happy Tuesday, and bringing gifts, like we'll celebrate absolutely anything. But it's funny because my oldest sister is an actress and a singer, and you know, like last year I just had Billy, so Billy was only she's only a few weeks old really. And Fiona was doing, she got a part in Angela's Ashes in the Board Gosh and was touring, but we went to see in the Board Gosh. I swear to God, I felt that achievement because I knew how huge that was for her. And after years of having kids and singing and all of the things that were in place that made this moment, I actually felt like it was my own. I was so hyper. I was so excited. I was nervous. I was bawling when she was on stage because it felt like mine. Because you share in the celebrations and you realize, which is actually even just in my head now, such a good thing for moving forward. That like it's you know, when you share in those celebrations, you can actually feel like it's yours. Like you can feel like it's a bit of you as well. Like because it's so joyful. You know, and why not embrace that joy?
It's so like my sister Neve is a vet nurse and she's the second youngest, and I'm sure you feel the same. Like as the years go on, the gaps in age just gets smaller and smaller. In fact, I'm very much their little sister sometimes. The two youngest are my sisters, and she did so well in her exams, her finals. She got the highest marks in the year, and she got the president's medal from the college and all the stuff. And I could cry now because I was like, because she is such a clever person, but she spent such a long time trying to figure herself out and also try to find the right place for her to be. She's very mindful of her own mental health. She's super resilient, but she's also very good at going, I need to build a wall there for a moment because I can't deal with that. Like, I don't want to know that bad news today. I so admire her. And I remember when I heard that she got her first, and like, and I was, it's so easy for me to say, but I was like, she's definitely got like highest marks in the year. And then she was like, guess what? I got the highest. And I was like, no shit, Sherlock. But I remember feeling like my other sister and I were dancing around the place, bouncing around. And then she told us she got the President's Medal. And we were just like more, I'd say we were more excited than she was. She was just like, this is not even, and there's nothing, and I think I hope everyone feels like that about their families, because it's kind of not really celebration until they're around, until they go, I'm proud of you, you know? So
true. Yeah, very true. So actually, weirdly, you getting your award in lockdown, you were with your family.
Yeah.
So actually, because I think you were saying loads of people said to you like, oh God, did it even feel like it happened? But then it probably felt hugely like it did, because you're with your tribe of people. Well, like obviously we have all our tribes, but like, you know, you're with the people who've been there from every little element, you know, up until that point.
It's such it's true. Like, I was able to feel like there was a sense of celebration because I was with them. And the truth is, people kept saying like, oh, I'm really sorry that happened to you during lockdown. I'm like, sorry for what? Like, I think people got this idea that if I won the award, I'd suddenly be working again without stopping again. And it would just be like new, bigger, even like meatier things. And then I go, that doesn't actually how it works. I could get the award and then not work again for 2 years. That's happened. And so I didn't think of it that way. But my sister, Helen, is a cake designer, and her bakeries are my parents. So she made me this amazing cake. And the whole family were there, and like we were trying to. Our bubble was quite small, but there were bubbles near us that we knew. So my sister-in-law arrived with the Faye, my niece who's 4, and they made this big banner of congratulations, Auntie Aoibheann. And I was like, that's the best thing that could have happened to me. And I missed going in my ball gown or my whatever, and hanging out with my people, my tribe at work. But I was very, very lucky and thankful to have those people around. And like, it was so cute how I found out. Like, I came down the stairs that morning and my sister was like, do you know yet? And I was like, no, I switched my phone off, I don't want to turn it on. And then Niamh went, well, I'm going to look it up. And I went, don't do it in front of me. So Niamh went into the kitchen, closed the hall door, and my mum and I were left. My mum and I were standing outside the bathroom in the hall door going, what do we do? So they looked in, the two of them checked, opened the kitchen door, walked up to me and went, you fucking won. And I was like, oh my God. Bawled her eyes out. She couldn't stop crying. She shocked herself. Like, so I guess that's lovely. Like, I wouldn't have got that otherwise, you know.
Oh, I'm actually thrilled for you. I think that's so lovely. And I always, what I'm so thrilled about, before I ask my final question, is that I always felt when I met you personally, I'd obviously seen your work, but when I'd met you at that little cusp just before you did Gatsby, I always remember being like, this is seeing a moment in somebody. Like, this is seeing that moment that things start to, and it's not it's not more important than the work you were doing before, but I think sometimes we do all those grafting jobs so that we could be gifted certain roles and gifted a job that you don't have to do all the other stuff, that you can just go and do your acting, which is, I think that's the difference. It's not that because I'm so proud of all my one woman shows and all the stuff I've written, but there's a different graft to that, to somebody just handing me a role and handing me a paycheck and going, there you go, now do something with that. Like, that's I think that's a real gift as well.
Totally.
So I'm so delighted. Yeah, I'm so delighted for you that and I'm so delighted to have seen that. That's and for you to be such a genuinely nice person on top of that, and being talented and all of that kind of thing, and not, and open. And that's a huge thing as well for me, I think, in this industry, and in this industry in Ireland, someone who's open and willing to chat. And because I still don't feel like I've ever really is settled in whatever, in inverted commas, this industry is in Ireland. I feel like I know people and I get on really well with people, but it's always nice to see, because I haven't trained with people and done a huge amount of theatre jobs with people, I'm always like, it's always so lovely to see a friendly face. So I have to definitely thank you.
Well, same to you. And I think one of the things that makes me feel comfortable with you is that I see that grafter in you, and that raw capacity to just keep her lit, like, you know. And also like, you're really good, and not to sound, it sounds really like, I don't know what I don't even know what it sounds like, but it's sort of like, it's important to me that artists are good. And I think that you could say, well, duh, I mean, that goes without saying, that's not really something you have to, it's like, well, no, it is something that is important to me. And when we talked about the feelings of jealousy, I get frustrated with some of the cliqueiness that we all experience, but I think people in the cliques feel it too. I think people, I'm in a clique, I don't even know what it looks like, I don't know who's in it, but I'm sure people are looking and go, yeah, I don't know, like, that's, you know, she wouldn't want to talk to me because she's, you know, Selena Cartmel directed her, or, you know, or like, she wouldn't talk to me because, you know, she just won this award, or and little do they know that I'm lolloping around going, just be my friend. And like me, please. and I get I'm very sensitive, and I've only admitted that in the last 6 months. Like, I'm a very sensitive person. And that means that there's a weakness in that, but there's a strength in it, where that I see it in other people, and I really attracted to it, because I feel like they'll get me. And I agree. And they come from a place like yourself, that just, there's less bullshit involved, and you have your own life outside of it too. And I think that's something that I'm seeking out, is the balance between celebrating my colleagues and then just kind of shutting myself off a little bit as well. Like, coming off Instagram, for example, coming off Twitter for a bit, just to kind of not think about that shite. And I don't know, I'm maybe rambling now, but
no, I understand that. And I think I think that's been something in my survival, has been trying to create an identity and a world that's not just about my art. And my art is my joy. It's so important to me. It's everything to me. But it's also what I've realized, if I want it to be sustainable, if I want to do this forever and ever and ever, I have to do that. I have to create a safe space, and somewhere where my identity isn't tied up in it, and I can be other things, and that's okay too. Like, you know, because for so long it's so tied up. Totally. When you're, especially in your early 20s, and you're grafting, and you're just like, this is who I am. Give me all the work, let me prove myself to you, I can do everything. And you can have all the bad relationships you need to have, so that you can just get on with it, and like, maybe write about them or something. Exactly. But you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, I've done enough of the living. Like, I want to keep living with a sense of security, because I feel like at sea sometimes, and I just want to be. And like, for me, like, the whole thing about like buying a car and like looking for my own home and stuff is a genuine attempt to, I said to someone recently, who's a film director friend, I was like, oh, am I actually giving up something by wanting to be a real adult? Like, am I giving in something? Am I letting something go? And he was like, no, you're stepping up. It's not the same. And I went, okay. And I guess a bit of me that was avoiding, like I said earlier, like, I was avoiding all that big stuff. I was avoiding certain kinds of relationships, you know, romantically, because I've said this to you before, like, I've been attracted to relationships with people that are very clearly not going to last, because I don't want to do the thing. Because deep down I'm like, if I do the thing, I'm going to have to be like a full-time wife and mother. A wife. Oh yes.
And I'm like, and actually,
and speaking as a wife, Aoibheann, it's a full-time job.
Does Sean know that? It's like,
oh, I totally agree. I've been there. I have. I've been there 100%. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
totally.
And you kind of like, I made a joke, like I wrote a monologue recently, and it was basically my inner demon saying, I need someone to trick me into getting married to them. Like I need them to go like, hey, I'm that guy that is really cool and arty, and I'm actually like, I'm going to be the love of your life. And then this is very personal, but I'm actually emotionally unavailable to you. So and then I'll go, cool, that's my type. And then we'll hang out and it'll be great. And like, actually,
and then years will go by.
And then they'll go, I was lying.
Yeah. Shit, I think that's actually what happened to me.
It's like, surprise. Yeah. I'm still here and I bought us a car. And I was like, shit.
Oh my God.
That's kind of, it was a jokey, kind of half jokey monologue of my, and like, actually I can't speak ill of anyone I've ever been with, to be honest with you. Like I'm a very lucky person, but like it's just a reflection of oneself. So I'm actually talking about myself. Like I'm going.
No, and it is interesting that you don't think you can do, sometimes you think you can't do both for a while, where you kind of, and it's nice to know that actually, you can have it. That's it. You can have it all.
Have it all, Amy. I'm looking at you now.
You can fucking have it all. Oh my God. I think you can. I don't see why not. I'm not gonna compromise for it. Because actually my father-in-law said to me the other day, said, if you had if a big job came up and you to move to the UK again, or you to go to America, like what? Like, and I was like, oh, well, then we just move. And I was like, that's always been in our agreement. That's always been our thing, that we would. Obviously, it will get harder as when Billy goes to school and stuff like that. But that was always kind of a thing of like, no, I want a life where I can have what I want. Like, that's what I want. I want to be able to do everything.
I guess if you're honest and you can, with people, with your family, or with your partner, with your children, like that's what you want to do. Yeah. Like I believe, I'm realizing you can never get it right. Yeah. Like you always fuck your kids up. Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, even if you think you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. My parents did a particularly brilliant job of it. Like,
yeah.
No, I'm joking. Like good people who are really good, like really cared for us and really still do, and but no one got it perfect, and no one ever does, because if you did, your child will hold that against you.
Totally. It was too easy. My childhood was too good.
I have nothing to write about, Mom.
Yeah.
But it's true. I think it's something that I think the lockdown and pandemic has really, really sat me in. I've sat into it and gone, okay, that's, what am I doing that's not helping me be happy? And it's I'm a bit of an avoidant personality maybe in personal life, but I'm an active person in my professional life, in my friendships and stuff, my family. But for me, it's kind of like, I guess this whole conversation is about me telling you I just want to feel rooted, Amy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be rooted,
and I just want to do the things I love.
Yeah. So that will bring me to my final question, because I've just realised we've been talking so easily for so long. I actually could talk for a whole day, genuinely. So what does creativity mean to you? And it's very open-ended, so it doesn't have to be particularly profound.
It means everything to me, in that if I was told tomorrow that I would have to keep making my own work for the next 2 years, but you'll be really proud of it, I would be really, and I'd be able to pay my bills, I would be so delighted, because I realize, and actually listening to your podcast has really set this in stone for me, is that, and I just love when you said, I think it might have been you or Sean or both, or everyone has said it, that at the core of it all, that's why I did it. That's why I decided to be an actor, was that there was this desire in me to tell stories, to make them, to build them, to change my body and my voice and everything, to embody something, to be creative in that space. That's what it is. And if it's really good in my body and space, like if I feel like it's a good piece of work and it's a story worth telling, then it doesn't matter if it's in the Fringe Dublin. Not that, to be honest, it's Fringe Dublin is an amazing festival though. So let me think of a better analogy. It doesn't matter.
Like above a little pub with 10 people coming to see it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's there or...
Yeah,
on the
as long
national
as
stage, I
in
guess.
my head the
Yeah.
poster looks good and
Yes.
our intention is right. Like if we're like
Yeah.
we have to be above that pub, then that's
Yeah.
where it's going to be. And like
Yeah.
that's creativity is the lifeblood of why I do it. Because if it stopped feeling creative, I just stop.
Yeah.
It's not something. Even the voiceovers feel, like yourself. Like,
Yeah.
they feel
Oh, I
such
do.
a creative opportunity.
Yeah.
Like,
It
when you
does.
go, well, I give this a shot. Well, I give this a shot. Mick,
Yeah.
go on, Mick. Hold on a second, right? And then just like do your thing, and like that excites me. Creativity is the exciting thing. It's not the needing to be liked. It's not the need to be popular or famous. God forbid, be famous thing. But like, it's the needing to. It's the satisfaction of moving people and helping them see themselves. That's what it is for me. Because I'm always searching for me,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's like, did somebody say this recently? Oh God, was it in this podcast? Was it in somebody else's podcast? Yeah. In order to understand yourself better, you actually have to, it's like you have to move away from yourself to understand yourself better. And the only way to get away from yourself is to be creative. And that's why it's almost like survival. Yeah. To understand yourself better, you need the space from yourself, and to get the space from yourself, you have to use your creativity, and it's all a package.
It's all a package. And creativity is community as well, just to say, because for me is when you're doing it by yourself, you get so far and then you just kind of feel like, why? And then someone else's feeling on it is like, oh, that's the thing I've written or the thing I've made means something completely different to you, and that's what it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me.
And thanks for coming on, and I just think people are going to get so much from it.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So there you have it, Aoibheann McCann. What a joy it was to speak to her. I loved how open and willing to be honest that she was from the very beginning of the conversation. Aoibheann is a deep thinker. She's the genuine article, and I just love any opportunity to chat to her, because I think it's just so important to support each other, to raise each other up, to celebrate each other's successes, and to be part of a genuine community that welcomes artists and embraces them and praises them. And I really think that's like what Aoibheann is all about. I love as well how she's talking about kind of getting back to finding roots, to finding a foundation, to building a foundation so that you can have longevity in this business. And that's often what we forget, that we need a foundation for our mental health to come back to, not only for the rejections, but for the victories. And I wish you, Aoibheann, every victory in the world, because you utterly deserve it. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe and share with all your friends. And until next time, have a great day, guys.